All right, welcome back to a very special edition. Our special guest is a multi-award winning songwriter, artist, author, member of the Songwriter Hall of Fame, and the author of the great new book, Living on a Prayer, Big Songs, Big Life. Please welcome Desmond Child.
Hey,
Desmond, welcome, welcome.
thank you.
What a creative environment I see there with the piano and all of that. Tell
Yeah.
us, tell us a little bit about at what age did you fall in love with music, and when did you feel that you had that skill to write songs?
My mother was the Cuban songwriter and poet Elena Casals, who was known as La Musa. And so, I grew up with my crib next to the piano and as she was writing songs. So I didn't know that people didn't write songs. So as soon as I could crawl up on the piano bench, I started banging away and creating my own melodies, and is the most natural thing in the world. So, my great grandfather was a poet in Cuba, and my grandfather was a author, wrote 40 books. My mother, she wrote hundreds of songs and poems. So I got the advantage of that being, culturally around me all the time. And my mother's friends were all, songwriters and singers, and so it was a beautiful, even though we were dirt poor living in the projects of Liberty City, our little apartment was the, kind of central orb of many creative people. On the weekends, they were there singing, and, those ashtrays, with mountains of cigarette butts and all of that. That's when smoking was actually good for you.
Yeah, you could smoke on planes, smoke in bars. People would
Yeah,
smoke everywhere.
I don't know what happened.
It's amazing. Well, Desmond Child and Rouge was your first, major label debut, and that obviously led to you meeting one Paul Stanley from Kiss and writing a mega hit with "I Was Made for Loving You," and you were off to the races. What do you think that Desmond Child and Rouge helped prepared you for what was about to come?
Well, I don't think I was prepared for Desmond Child and Rouge. That was more the problem because we were so young. It's almost impossible to hold any two people together, right? Look at the
Yeah.
divorce rate, right? Um, it's very hard to hold any band together, musical group of any sort. People have, are bringing their baggage to the table, and also their, contrasting ideas that kind of butt against the others and all of that. So we didn't really understand how great we were at that time. We were really fantastic, and we were, ahead of our time. Had we been allowed to continue and perform, who knows what could have happened. But, there were other forces in the works, which is all four of us had very troubled childhoods. And so, we kept pushing each other's buttons so we couldn't stay together. But in 1979, we released two albums, toured the country. The girls, the women of Rouge were on stage with Gilda Radner on Broadway at the Winter Garden Theater in a show called Gilda Live from New York, which was also filmed by Mike Nichols. And we went on to perform on Saturday Night Live in the Christmas of 1979. So in this one year, I also had, one of my biggest hits of all time with Kiss, collaboration with Paul Stanley. I Was Made for Loving You. So the money was coming in, and, it was just, we just imploded. It was just like too much pressure. We were too young. We didn't really have the right advice. We didn't have a label that really understood, how advanced we were, in terms of, setting the course of pop music going forward. So, we have stayed very close through the years, and in fact, Desmond Child and Rouge, we're still making music together. So, you can check us out on Instagram at Desmond Child and Rouge, and you can see how gorgeous we were. There'll be no pictures of us like today.
Wow.
And we've been recording singles that we're going to eventually release, just because we love music. And we've started a new project, which is a Laura Nyro tribute record that's just going to be piano and our voices only. So it's all of Laura Nyro's original keys and her original voicings. And we just picked our favorite songs, and we're starting that in January. So Desmond Child and Rouge, is still riding high. So
Amazing.
after that, I went through a very troubled period of I got into spiritual cults and a mind control cult, and all the while I was still working and starting to have huge hits with Bon Jovi and Aerosmith and Joan Jett and Alice Cooper. And that was a very difficult time because I had sort of lost myself in those things. But still, my work ethic, and as soon as I was back in the studio and writing songs, I felt happy. So eventually, I was able to break away and find my true love, my husband Curtis, and we've been together now almost 34 years.
Amazing. Now, I know that this book, Living on a Prayer, was a long time coming. I know that you've been working on this for many years. How cathartic is it? What's the best highlight of finally having it released?
Well, originally, I just felt that I wanted my sons to get to know the real me, because for most of their childhood, I've been a studio rat, just working all the time and traveling. And, I'd come home late and they'd be already asleep. I'd wake up, they'd already be gone to school. So days would go by, I wouldn't even see them. And so I wanted to finally put down in a book what the story of my life has been, and which is their legacy as well. And then also, thinking, well, if I put it all down, then I don't have to remember it anymore. And I don't have to, have all these kind of mixed feelings. I was able to, while sorting out my feelings and all of that, just like, okay, it's all in the book. Now I can forget about it. Well, it doesn't work that way. Once you start drudging up the past, you start feeling those feelings, and they're as alive as ever right in front of your face. So it's not that simple. 7 years in the making. But my collaborator was very patient, and also exciting things were still happening, like getting a chance to work with Barbara Streisand, my lifelong dream of mine, and also getting a chance to perform an evening of my music with a full orchestra and band at the Odeon of Herodotus Atticus in Athens, Greece. It's in the Acropolis at the foot of the Parthenon, and it was benefit for the Acropolis Museum to help them bring back the Parthenon sculptures from the British Museum. So, it was one of those things. I just threw myself into it. But the great thing about it is, like, I always felt like, wow, I could have been a star. And I guess, for that one night, I was the star, and it felt great.
Well, we congratulate you on the book. We encourage everybody, go out and get a copy. It is Living on a Prayer, Big Songs, Big Life by Desmond Child.